Welcome everyone to Pain Science Physical Therapy's evening talk. I'm super excited to introduce Regan Rowell. Regan and I met quite a number of months ago now through a colleague, Hillary Beckwith, and we had this just super fun conversation, myself and Regan and one of the other PTs that worked at Pain Science, PT Jamie, who's now moved on to another clinical setting. And really, it was just super fun to listen to Regan talk about her passion with working with clients and patients who are experiencing all sorts of different difficulties in this space, which she's going to, of course, talk about. And I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to have you here. I know that it's been, everyone was really excited to sign up. And so I'm going to let you take it away, Regan, and I'm going to mute myself so we don't hear me chatting and talking and getting excited. So go for it.
Okay, well, thank you for the introduction. And I just want to say welcome, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Ori, and thank you, Jill, for giving me this platform and providing space for me to connect with you all. And thank you for everyone in attendance for carving out the time to come and connect and learn with me for this next hour. So before we begin today and dive into connecting to the pleasure in our bodies with the somatic framework, I was just wanting to create a moment and settle in and invite you all to do that with me, right? Like maybe you were coming in today after a long day of work, feeding the kids, running errands, whatever you were doing before, and just to take a moment and settle into this space that we're sharing this evening. So if you're feeling comfortable and able, we're just going to do a little bit of a grounding exercise to get in touch with our bodies and our breath. If you feel more comfortable and safe turning off your camera, I welcome you to do so. Please do this only if you feel comfortable and you're allowed to engage in whatever capacity you'd like. Okay, so if we want to just go ahead and settle in, if closing your eyes is available to you, please feel free to do so, or you can just kind of focus on something in front of you. And we're just going to begin to connect with our breath. Noticing when you breathe in through your nose, maybe envisioning your lungs filling up like a balloon. And exhaling through your mouth, noticing your lungs deflating. And just stay with that breath and stay with that awareness. Maybe you offer yourself a more comfortable position. Settle into what's holding you a little bit more. Maybe you notice a little tension or tightness somewhere, and you give it what it needs by stretching, giving it space. And coming back to the breath. And whenever you feel able and ready, I welcome you to open your eyes, orient to the room around you. Turn your camera back on if you want to engage a bit more. And thank you for settling in this space with me. Okay, so who the heck am I? Who am I to be talking to you about all of this evening? I'm Regan. I have she, they pronouns, and I am a licensed mental health counselor here in Washington State. On top of that, I'm also a certified sex therapist and a trauma-informed practitioner, which just means I've taken a ton of trainings and slowing down, recognizing how trauma shows up for every individual differently, and being able to meet clients where they're at. I hold many identities, as we all do in this room. Mine are that I'm white, I'm cis, I'm queer, I'm a dog mom, an aunt, a sister, a partner, a daughter, a student, and a creator of healing spaces. All of my work is really rooted in holistic care. I try to be person-centered, anti-oppressive, And I'm collaborative in my approaches, both with other practitioners that I work with, as well as being collaborative with the clients that I see. I do have a bit of a niche, kind of melding my sex therapy certification with some of my trauma-informed approaches. And I work with a lot of clients that have experienced some sexual trauma or pain in their bodies. And I work to help them find more embodiment. But I do actually work with all different types of clients. That just tends to be my niche. I'm also born and raised in the Pacific Northwest, and nature is a big part of my own nervous system regulation, which we'll be diving into a bit more. So, learning objectives for this evening. First and foremost, to create a safe space to exchange knowledge with each other, invite in some curiosity, and hold awareness. We're going to explore the nervous system, how it impacts our bodies, our minds, and the narratives that we hold. And we're going to examine pleasure and how to lean in, invite in, and notice what is an inherent right to all of us. And then we're going to partake in an embodied pleasure-seeking ritual. There's going to be a lot of information coming your way. I could talk about this content for hours, so I'm really going to try my best to be slow and intentional. And as Dr. Ori mentioned earlier, there will be time built in for Q&A at the end of the presentation. So if anything's coming up for you, you have any questions, I encourage you to jot it down and we can invite it in and give it the space that it deserves later. Okay, so a nervous system overview. Almost all animals have them except for sponges. If we're living, being creatures, we're going to have a nervous system. Our nervous systems are built to keep us safe in our environment. You might have heard of some of these terms before because it's pretty, I think, popular in pop culture and in social commentary, but there's a few different states that the nervous system is made up of. We have the ventral, which is green light. We're feeling good. We're feeling connected. There's fight or flight, a little bit of that red energy. We're building up energy. There might be a threat in our environment. And then there's freeze or shut down, a little bit of blue. We're conserving, we're shutting down. Our nervous system is completely controlled by the vagus or vagal nerve, and it is such a cool nerve. It runs from our brain all the way down our backs, and it has tendrils throughout our entire body. It controls our breathing, our heart rate, energy bursts of adrenaline, our digestion, and overall functioning of the body. It works to keep us safe by bringing in neuroception, which is basically our nervous system scanning our environment for cues of safety versus unsafety, right? And then it also brings in co-regulation. Co-regulation refers to reaching out to others and their nervous systems in our environment. So neuroception is looking for these cues of safety. It could be physical or even emotional. And it's built as a unique map of all of our experiences. And that's what makes all of our nervous system so unique, right? It's how our caregivers raised us. It's our past partnerships or relationships. It's varying traumas we've been through, social, cultural teachings. All of it is our nervous system learning and mapping what is safe to engage with and what feels like a threat. And how we respond, what state we might go into between ventral, fight, flight, freeze, is all learned or what we've been conditioned to. Right? And this co-regulation piece, our nervous system is always connecting with other nervous systems in our environment, and they're communicating with one another, often unconsciously. When we engage with others, it feeds our nervous system information. Right? Like, you might pick up on if one of your friends is feeling a little bit mad at you. That's your nervous system clocking their nervous system and clocking their tone, their facial expressions, their body language. And it begins to feed a narrative through your nervous system that creates a story in your mind. Right? And this co-regulation can be helpful. It can be with people that are soothing to our nervous systems, trusted people, a friend, a partner, therapist, even a pet, right? Or it could be those same people or different people that are engaging in different behaviors that feel threatening to your nervous system, right? It's all getting filtered through our nervous system to then create the narratives that we hold and make sense of the world around us. So dropping in a little bit more, This is what we call a nervous system ladder. So I'm going to be talking a lot about like regulation versus dysregulation. Regulation just means we're kind of in that green zone at the bottom. This is our social engagement and ventral vagal state. This is when, through neuroception and the scanning of our environment, our nervous system is saying, there's not a threat here. I can feel calm here. I can feel connected here. I can be present. There's joy. There's mindfulness, right? We can socially engage and get curious. On the right, you can see it dips in a little bit more to what might be happening in our bodies, right? Our defensive responses are really low because we're feeling safe. Our digestion's working well. We have a good immune response. Rest and recuperation lives here. It's pleasant. It's joyful to be here. But as arousal increases, if you look on the left, the arrow, if through neuroception or co-regulation, our nervous system begins to say, ooh, there's a bit of a threat here, emotional or physical, our body moves into the red zone, fight or flight. And our body is building up energy. Our nervous system is saying we have to have the energy and capacity to either flee away, move away from the threat, or fight and move towards it, right? And in our bodies on the right, you can see like our vagal nerve is really kicked up. It's online. Its blood pressure increases. Our heart rate increases. We have more fuel, adrenaline, right? Our digestion might not be working as well. Our immune responses may not be working as well. All of this to say our body is building up that energy. And then as the arousal continues to increase, we might hit a freeze, shut down dorsal state. And that's when our bodies go into a state of collapse or almost like a state of shock. It's saying the threat is so big that I'm feeling frozen, right? Dissociation, numbness, depression might live here, shame, shut down. On the right, you'll notice like our facial tone decreases, our heart rate decreases, our blood pressure decreases. And all of this to say, like we go through these states throughout the day, many times, right? And no state is better than another one. Sure, we all want to live in the green, feel connected to ourselves and others and be in that joyful state. But as living beings, there's going to be threats in our environment and threats to us. So it's adaptive and it's biological to move through these, right? And this can look so many different ways. It can look like you wake up and you pick up your phone and you begin reading your emails for the day. You feel fight or flight. You're overwhelmed. You have this to-do list. Or maybe you're feeling motivated. I need to get out of bed. I have all these things to do, right? It could be going to get movement in with your body, right? It causes that adrenaline. Right? There's a bit of a threat. I have to fatigue myself. I have to lift this heavy weight. But it's good. It's movement. You're moving through the state, right? This can also look like having a long, exhausting day at work and you have decision fatigue and you don't want to have any other input. And so you're going to sit in front of the TV and watch Love is Blind on Netflix for 2 hours and numb out, right? This can look so different to everybody. And it's all adaptive. It's our nervous system and our body's saying, this is what I need right now in order to feel safe and to move through a state, to come back to regulation. So these charts go a little bit more in detail. I love these because it really explains what emotions might feel like in a certain state, what your body feels like in a certain state, and what behaviors might live there. So this is the shutdown or freeze state, right? There's that shame, that grief, confusion. Your body's slowing down. Your behavior might be isolating. You might disassociate. You might have low motivation. And as we move to fight or flight, same thing. Different emotions live here. Motivation, excitement, anger, frustration. Your body's building up that energy. So you have that fast heart rate, shallow breath. Behaviors might look like movement, physical labor. It could also be yelling, shouting, trembling. And so that's to say, like in each of these states, there's such a vast facet of what we can be experiencing, right? And so getting to know what puts us in these states can be really helpful. And lastly, this safe and social ventral state. Emotions of joy, hope, love, connection. You have a calm heart here. You have a soft, expressive gaze. You have open body language, creative thinking, problem solving, collaboration, all of here. And I want you all to know on the bottom right, safe touch and intimacy lives here. We have to feel connected and safe with ourselves, our environment, and with our partner or partners to engage with pleasure. I want to note there's some like kink where you're in fight or flight, but for this purpose, we're really speaking about that embodied safe pleasure. And so we have to notice what our nervous system is attuned to and prefers. Emily Nagoski, she wrote the book Come As You Are, which some of you might be aware of. She refers to some of these cues of safety versus unsafety as accelerators and brakes. So our sexual response mechanism in our brain has two parts: a sexual accelerator, which notices all the sexually relevant stimulation, like pulling us towards that desire, pulling us towards that pleasure. It's allowing that gateway to expand and increase. And sexual brakes, which notice potential threats or other reasons not to be turned on. Okay? So for the sexual acceleration, that might be noticing sexy sounds, sights, sensations. And those look different for everybody, right? This can be the lights off or on. It could be noticing the sheets and how they feel on your skin. It could be feeling connected to yourself and to your partner. And the breaks are really noticing those risks or threats, right? Are the kids going to come in and interrupt? If you don't feel good in your body that day, if you've had a stressful day, or you're feeling disconnected from yourself or your partner. You can begin to see how the nervous system is really intimately tied to accessing pleasure, right? Being aware of our accelerators and brakes can help us begin to build context or experiences to allow the gateway for pleasure and connectedness to exist in the moment. A lot of the work I do as a sex therapist and somatic practitioner is helping clients understand their trauma and the dynamics that have played a role in their sexual functioning. So I might see a client who experiences pain with entry, and we work to uncover what experiences train their nervous system to go into that dysregulated state. Maybe their body's tightening up. They're in their head and not in their body during intimacy, solo or partner. Maybe they're feeling anxious around intimacy in general, so there's avoidance. All of these cues from their nervous system is telling me they're likely in fight or flight, therefore not able to access that safety and that pleasure. There's a barrier. So we work to uncover what that unsafety is, why it might be showing up for the client. By understanding these experiences and how they shape our nervous system, we can process any trauma that might have created it, any narratives that might have been held in their bodies and in their minds. We can find more safety in a moment. We can begin to access more agency and more pleasure. So with all of this, how do we integrate? How do we access more pleasure? Like, how do we put all of this together? And I think the first and most important thing is mapping your nervous system. So I created a bit of a template, and you all will get this presentation. But getting to know what puts your unique system into different states allows you to know yourself more deeply. You can access this wisdom by tuning into how your body feels in a certain state, what emotions you might be experiencing in that state, what thoughts you're witnessing, and what other past experiences might be showing up in the moment. You can hold more awareness around your triggers, past wounds, pain, physical or emotional, and how to assist yourself holistically to begin to move through that state. Moving through the states, again, it's biological and adaptive, and it helps us learn. We love our nervous systems for trying to keep us safe, but sometimes we might have to decipher it a little bit, right? Like, we want to decipher if that threat is real in the moment. It feels very real, but is it real in that moment, or is it old wounds? Is it old patterning? Is it old learning that's showing up? Is there actual unsafety? Or are our past experiences overly shaping our reality? right? Asking yourself, what is my body and my nervous system telling me in this moment? Taking a pause, right, between noticing and reacting. I often say I think one of the truest forms of mental wellness is not ever getting activated or not going into fight, flight, or freeze. Like, that is inevitable. We are all going to be dysregulated at times. But rather, the true form of mental wellness is how do we hold awareness around our dysregulation? And we give ourselves the gift of coming back to a regulated state when we're able to, when it's safe to, right? Having that awareness and fluidity between the states is really what we're looking for. So we have to notice, right? If we can reflect and notice our states, really sit with what's coming up in our nervous system and our bodies, then we can get curious about the narratives and the past connections that live there. And we can begin to access our full selves and can act from a more integrated and aligning place. And one of the things I really like to teach my clients, I use these hacks all the time too. I was feeling nervous energy coming in and presenting to you all today. So I shook out my body, right? I was in fight or flight. My body was like, "Ooh, there's some anxiety here. We're teaching, we're exploring, we're connecting, we're getting in front of people." I had to shake out my body a bit. I released that energy. Because remember, when we're in fight or flight, there's that excess energy. So what we want to do is down-regulate. We want to release the energy that's stored in us. This can look like what I did, shaking out my body, swaying, humming, screaming in a pillow, punching the air, taking a walk, journaling, anything to get that energy outside of you. When we're in a free state, our bodies are conserving that energy, right? We don't have a ton of energy. So we need to up-regulate. That can look like laying down, taking a nap, talking to a loved one, listening to your favorite song, eating a nutritious or pleasure-based meal, right? Wrapping yourself in a blanket, smelling an inviting scent. There's really wonderful ways we can get creative. And then leaning into safety and pleasure, right? I think it is often easy to identify when we're activated or dysregulated. But how do we begin to give the space for when we're really regulated and notice that ventral vagal state? How do we notice the lusciousness, the expansiveness, the loveliness that this state offers? And I think one way we can do that is through glimmers, right? Like a glimmer, I like to think of as the opposite of a trigger. It's moments where you're feeling regulated and you might notice the birds chirping. You feel the sun on your face and you take a breath and you're like, "Oh, that feels great." You're laughing, with a friend, like there's a shared moment and it's hilarious. Feeling the softness of a sweater on your body in a moment. Feeling seen and heard by your partner. We have to bring full awareness to these sensations and bring it in the moment. We have to linger in that goodness, hold on to it, make it big and juicy and stay there. We are meant to feel the pleasure in our bodies and our environments. So one way I like to do this too is creating intentional space, right? Create those contexts in which you can drop into your ventral vagal state. Remove the barriers that might send you into that fight or flight or freeze and activate you, and really drop into yourself what is around you. Engage in environments and activities where you can find the safety. Notice, bring pleasure into your body and build it. And if there's safety, you can invite someone in. One thing I like to tell my clients, I do this myself, is setting aside intentional time for like a self-pleasure date, right? You get to create the sexy context to explore what might be those accelerators that allow you to dip more into pleasure and expand it, or those brakes that might stop some of that gateway. This can look like setting a timer and taking a shower and being really mindful of noticing the temperature of the water, getting it just right, inviting in more pleasure, lathering up with your favorite scented body wash, right? It could also be like setting a timer and sitting in bed, noticing and leaning into what the sheets feel like on your body. Maybe you get the lighting just right. It feels really inviting for you, right? It could also be reading smut or turning on sensual music and noticing your pleasure and desire building. We can get creative. But the biggest thing is like once we're able to identify what our accelerators and brakes are and give ourselves the space to explore what uniquely that is for us, we're going to make so much more space for our intimate selves and pleasure, which will trickle in to whoever we invite in to share that. Our bodies are wired for pleasure, so let's invite it in. So with that, I kind of wanted to lead us into a somatic embodied practice to invite in pleasure. I want to know if you don't want to take part in this, you don't have to. Like, this is completely up to your own comfort level. And if you have access to a pillow or a blanket that you could wrap and put on your lap, I welcome you to grab that. If not, that's okay. You can just set your hands on your lap. Okay. And once you have that pillow or blanket, you can just set it on your lap and rest your hands on it. And I also want to invite you, like, this is an opportunity for agency. Create your own context for pleasure. If having your camera on feels unsafe, I welcome you to turn it off. Like, create this space just for you, right? And then I want you to like grab an object that's around you. It could be anything. It could be a pen. It could be a water glass. Well, maybe not a water glass because there's going to be water in there. Something that can't spill on you. But just grab an object. Anything that feels comfortable for you to engage with. Okay. Now with your blanket or pillow on your lap, the object in your hand, I want you to get in a comfortable position. And maybe that's your feet on your floor. Maybe it's sitting cross-legged, whatever feels comfortable for you. Again, you get to create this context to allow pleasure. And I want you to be mindful to not like engage your core. I don't want you like sitting up straight. If you can like settle in and lean back and not have any muscle engagement, that's gonna allow us to dip into that ventral vagal state. So when we're engaging our core or engaging our muscles, we might dip into fight or flight. And if it feels comfortable for you, I welcome you to close your eyes. And if not, just focus on something in front of you. And I want you to begin to move the object in your hands. And I want you to play around with it. Bring in awareness. Notice the sensation, the texture of the object. And as you're moving it through your hand, I want you to notice what feels pleasurable and stay there. If it feels like a break or it doesn't feel as pleasurable, go back to what was feeling good. And now I want you to slow your movement down by half. Maybe you play around with pressure. Moving to different parts of your hand and getting curious. Noticing how your awareness to what feels good is there. How do you invite movement? sensation, providing pleasure. To stop, open your eyes and orient to the room. Share, curious, what you noticed. What did this exercise bring up for you? Okay, thank you everyone for coming today, being in this space with me. My info is up on the screen. If you feel like you want to get more resources, want to connect with me, want to collaborate with me, I'm always open to any of that. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Regan. We really appreciate it. And thanks to everybody who attended today.